Hey, this is Dave Pryor. Welcome to Leading Agile Soundnotes. We're here at Agile 2017 all week long. We're doing interviews with thought leaders, speakers, the folks that run the conference, and I've been waiting all day to talk to Troy Magennis. Troy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Troy's company is Focused Objective. Your mission is to make math easier for people to understand and to use it to make better decisions.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone can have an opinion.
Right.
I'm trying to get people to back that opinion up with a little bit of data.
Okay, and you had a session this morning for people that are new to the topic. I love the smell of data in the morning. They're very long titles. I love the smell of data in the morning, getting started with data science.
Which, of course, when I submitted that talk title, I didn't realize they really had to schedule me at 9 a.m. in the morning once I put that title on the talk. So I flew in from Seattle and then, had to do a talk at 6 a.m. in the morning. So,
wow. Yeah, because you just got here.
Yeah, I just got here last
night.
night.
Wow, that's
so be careful what you title your talks. But yes, I mean, it tries to give people just an entry-level starting point if they've about what data they should collect and how they could use it.
Okay, so somebody that's brand new to, say, Scrum or something like that, they're taught about story points and burn down charts and things like that. You tend to go a little bit deeper with this stuff. Well, a lot deeper with this stuff.
Incrementally, though. Okay. I mean, the point is whatever tool you're using, if it's working for you, don't stop using it. But then, what you're looking at is if it does fail for some reason, doesn't give you the actual result, doesn't equal what you forecast or planned it to be, then start asking questions as to why.
Okay.
And there will always be a reason, well, we didn't really account for that stories split when developers get them. So where we sort of said we had a pace of 5 stories per sprint or 20 story points, it looked like we were moving faster than we were because the stories were split and we counted that as throughput, kilometers an hour versus miles an hour. Okay. And so I try and only get people to take the next level of complexity when there's value in doing it. It still can't be. You shouldn't do any of these techniques willy-nilly because they're all expensive in time and effort. Yeah. But if your current technique isn't working as expected and you find out why, and you should be curious, I try and give you the next step.
Okay. So one example, and we've talked about this before, is I talk about this in my classes all the time. People say, well, they keep jamming working in my sprint, they keep pushing in, and Troy's built a tool that will help you start to track the impact of that. So if you have to go back to management and say, look at what a mess you're making when you come and do this, and they're like, no, now there's data, which strengthens the argument.
Data is just about making things visible, things that were currently invisible. And we know this quite well through whether we use Scrum or Kanban. We make work visible. Yeah. And all I'm saying is you should also make the data visible because it often tells a story that is often overlooked. Yeah. We kept jamming work in because that's what good managers do. No. Here's the impact of that.
I think that's the thing. A lot of the management folks don't. It's easy. Like I get people in class all the time that they're horrible people. But they're not horrible people. They're doing what they think is the right thing. They just maybe don't understand the impact of like canceling every sprint and making you do something else, or flooding you with work, or making you work on 17 things.
Yeah, they don't understand that, and they probably shouldn't really. I mean, if you don't understand it, if you haven't found a way of tracking it and showing it and demonstrating it, then it's just your opinion. Yeah,
but I think one of the things that's so great about the resources you provide is that for a lot of folks, they might see the problem, and they know they want it to stop, but they don't know how to make a strong case. Like I will, in my class, I always say, look, here's the data I capture because it helps me tell a story. And if I put it in Excel, no one ever questions it because it's in Excel.
It's in Excel.
And if there's some Greek symbols in there, everyone's scared of it, so I win every argument.
And a few extra decimal points, and you got it made. Exactly. And that's the point. I mean, given that if you're the only one with data, you are going to win the argument. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be a lot. It doesn't even have to be particularly perfectly captured. It's you're trying to understand the process, and you're trying to show evidence that we think there's a cause and effect, which is my very strong point throughout all of my talks there, is that if you measure one thing, you can't tell what other metric or impact you're having in the rest of the process. So you should never measure just one thing. You should measure combinations of things that are in tension. And that's what you're helping management see, that when you did something, it caused this impact. Okay. So and what you're trying to understand is, what do we have to change to either make that impact tolerable or to eliminate it altogether? And we can only do that by process change, which is what we have to be ready to suggest.
Right.
So you did this and it caused that, and we can fix that by doing this, but you need to help us. So it's quite a cyclical.
Is a big deal.
It's quite a cyclical sort of process.
Okay, so you had that session this morning, and we're telling you about one on Thursday morning, right?
Yeah.
Prioritization, 10 different techniques for optimizing what to start next.
Yeah.
This is always a big question, especially people that are like, how do I figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, we do live in a world where people want to know what's going to finish next.
Yeah.
This talk sort of spins that around a bit. It sort of says, well, economically, is there some order that we should start work that gives a better, longer-term outcome? And it actually started from a Twitter war where everyone was building up on the SAFE formula, and I was one of them. I was one of the belters, not the beltee.
So what's for the folks that aren't familiar with the formula? Can you
So the SAFE formula is a formula to help you come up with a ranking about what order you should do work economically.
Okay.
And it combines together multiple types of value and divides them by effort.
Okay.
And it means well. But it's what is written on the SAFE side isn't probably what's taught.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of pre-barriers to make the cases where that formula would fail miserably never actually occur. And that's what I wanted to tease out. So I got all the people who were arguing on Twitter, and I invited them offline to work on work on an email stream. So I had Chris Matz, Don Ronson, Joshua Arnold, myself and Tony Grout, and we and
knowing some of those people, that sounds like a terrifying argument.
And we actually it got very heated in email now.
Right.
But the outcome of it was a year later about a double-sided single-page document which outlined all the ways of prioritization that we could think of.
Wow.
The pros and cons of those, and a little short blurb on each of them about if you were going to do it, how to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think everyone was fairly, Martin Burns it was, in Scotland, he was the guy who gave us all the SAFE context. And it was educational in the end. I think everyone in the end still had their strong opinions, but now we understood
how to play with each other better.
And I certainly understood a lot more what the continuum was, and that's what this talk is about.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit for folks that are watching. When we're talking about prioritization, especially if you're new to this stuff, we're not talking about what do the developers want to do first, and we're not talking about something as simple as Moscow and asking managers, what do you want us to do first? These are much more they're more sophisticated techniques.
They grow that way. I mean, but you're right. I mean, just say the baseline would be we just picked features to deliver at random.
Okay.
Okay, and that would give us a certain amount of value, but we're not certain whether it's optimal or not optimal.
Right.
We're going to make an assumption it's not. So what would we need to do to make a better decision than random? Well, maybe we would just pick things of the highest value.
Yeah.
Okay, what could make that give us a misleading result in hindsight?
Right.
Well, the things are the same value. One thing might take a month and one thing might take a year. It's probably more economically advantageous than it takes a month. And then value is a bit ambiguous just as a single value. There's multiple facets that go into value, and we keep stepping up the chain.